My dear students of 12th class, and today we are going to discuss the properties of genetic material. What the genetic material should look like, or what are the properties which makes it a genetic material or a hereditary material. And there are two candidates for this till now. We have discussed that the DNA is preferably the genetic material for most of the existing plant and the animal worlds. And also there is one more candidate, that is RNA. RNA being also the genetic material for certain lower forms of life, like mostly there are viruses and some bacteria. And now what the genetic material should be capable of, that we have to discuss now. And previously we have seen that it was the DNA that was preferably the chief genetic or the hereditary material. And now what are the various properties that a genetic material should have, that we are going to discuss today. And these, from the ongoing discussions, it is clear that the debate between proteins versus DNA, that we have seen that the proteins and the DNA, when compared, DNA was seen to be the genetic material, as the genetic material was unequivocally resolved from Hershey and Chase experiment of transduction, that proteins are not able to carry any sort of information, and they are not able to survive in the harsh conditions. Also, it is some more material other than the proteins that is certainly or surely be, that is surely the DNA. It became an established fact that it is a DNA that acts as a genetic material. However, it subsequently became clear that in some viruses, RNA is the genetic material. For example, TMV or the tobacco mosaic viruses and the bacteriophages, RNA was seen to be the genetic material. Answer to some of the questions, such as why DNA is the predominant genetic material whereas RNA performs the dynamic functions of messenger and adapter, has to be found from the differences between chemical structures of the two nucleic acid molecules. So till now we know that DNA is the chief genetic material. Now what should be the different properties that are essential for a particular molecule to act as a hereditary material? And then now we are going to look upon that fact. A molecule that can act as a genetic material, that must fulfill the criteria that follows. Number one is, it should be able to generate its replica, that is replication. The material should be capable of replication, that is, it should be able to generate its replica, that is a copy, and a true copy of the original material. It should chemically and structurally be stable. It should be stable chemically as well as structurally. And it should provide the scope for slow changes. And this is very important. It should provide scope for slow changes, that is the mutation that are required for evolution. And it should be able to express itself in the form of Mendelian characters. If one examines each requirement for one by one, because of the rule of base pairing and complementarity, both the nucleic acids, that is DNA and RNA, have the ability to direct their duplications. They are able to replicate. The other molecule in the living system, such as proteins, fail to fulfill first criterion itself. They are not capable of replication. It is DNA and the RNA which are capable of producing their own replica. The genetic material should be stable enough not to change with different stages of life cycle, age, or with change in the physiology of the organism. It should be highly stable. Stability as one of the properties of the genetic material was very evident in the Griffith's transforming principle itself, that heat which killed the bacteria at least did not destroy some of the properties of the genetic material. You must be remembering that. And this now can easily be explained in the light of DNA, that the two strands being complementary, if separated by heating, come together when appropriate conditions are provided. Further, a 2' group present at every nucleotide in RNA is a reactive group and makes RNA liable and easily degradable. RNA is also now known to be catalytic, hence reactive, whereas DNA is highly stable. Therefore, DNA chemically is less reactive and structurally more stable when compared to RNA, and that is the reason why the DNA is the chief hereditary material. Therefore, among the two nucleic acids, the DNA is a better genetic material. In fact, the presence of thymine at the place of the uracil also confers additional stability to DNA. That is, when we move to the structures of DNA and RNA, compare the structures, both DNA and RNA are able to mutate. In fact, RNA being unstable mutate at a faster rate. Consequently, viruses having RNA genome and having shorter lifespan mutate and evolve faster. And that is the reason why this COVID-19 has proved to be such a havoc, and fast and the rapid investigations or the researches about this particular virus. No vaccine has been yet developed or produced. RNA can directly code for the synthesis of proteins, hence can easily express the characters. DNA, however, is dependent on RNA for synthesis of the proteins. That is to be discussed in the forthcoming lectures. And the protein synthesizing machinery has evolved around RNA. Therefore, this indicates that both RNA and DNA can function as the hereditary genetic material, but DNA, being more stable, is preferred for storage of genetic information, for transmission of genetic information. RNA is better because DNA itself is not. We will discuss in the forthcoming lectures, inshallah. Thanks. Have a nice day.